is up next. Genta Sebastian is going to read us fantasy from her fantasy short story.
Hello, everyone. My name is Genta Sebastian. I'm a rather eclectic author. I write whatever kind of suits me. I started out by selling 8 short stories to lesbian erotica anthologies, one of which won an award, so I was kind of proud about that. Down below I have 3 copies to give away of my latest LGBT novel for young readers concerning bullying issues and the horrors that went on in the Hennepin and Oka School County not too long ago. I've written a science fiction story that will be coming out soon in the Twin Cities Speculations anthology, and I'll be reading to you from that story now. Lost. It was going to be another sleepless night. Staring out the living room window, Lilith watched the relentless snow swirling within the yellow beam thrown by her front porch light. The unseasonably early blizzard had raged across northern Minnesota for 2 days, showing no signs of slackening. Large, water-laden snowflakes fell, promising a backache from shoveling. An unexpected sound sliced through her reverie. What was that? A trick of the wind? But no, there it was again. Is that a child? Lilith listened intently. Yes, that's what she heard, the unmistakable cry of a youngster. But out here, in the middle of nowhere, and in a full-blown blizzard? Impossible! I must be hallucinating. The sobbing grew louder, approaching her front porch. In the cone of weak porch light, the swirling snow moved differently, sorting itself into the shape of a small girl, dead white with the cold. A ghost? Am I haunted? The crying child certainly didn't look scary, but she did look lost and frightened. Disbelieving, Lilith nevertheless rose and opened the door, waving the pale vision out of the store. "Come in, child," she called. "What are you doing out here all alone?" The little girl approached timidly, frozen tears rolling down her frostbitten cheeks. That's right. Come in and get warm. Are you lost?" The small head bobbed quickly up and down. Holding out her hand, Lilith stepped barefoot out into the cold. She reached for the girl, but the child stepped back. "No, don't go back into the storm. This house is safe and warm," she coaxed. The small child hesitated, then reluctantly took Lilith's hand. Yelping sharply, the girl wrenched her frozen hand out of the woman's grasp. "Oh my God, you're frozen to the bone!" Lilith reached for her again, but the child sobbed brokenheartedly and thrust both hands behind her back. She stood, perched for flight, just out of reach in drifting snow high as her waist, impossibly, but unmistakably alive. "Come here, honey," the woman urged, desperate to save the girl from freezing to death, which, from the temperature of her skin, wouldn't take long. Taking a deep breath, Lilith plunged into the snow. Misjudging, she gasped as she sank off the porch, falling flat on her face, arms flailing, and tossing snow over the two of them. The child giggled irrepressibly, gulping around subsiding sobs. As Lilith floundered to her feet, the child came close enough to reach out and touch her bright red robe, now covered in snow. Instinctively, Lilith tore it from her body, gasping as the cruel wind knifed through her thin pajamas, and wrapped the little girl in the robe. Light as an infant, the child lay quiet in her arms as she staggered up the hidden steps and into the house. She kicked at the door to close it, stubbing a frozen toe in the process. Repressing a curse, she sank with relief to the floor. The bundle in her arms rolled away as the child popped free, looking around. Sitting up straight, Lilith gawked in surprise. A perfectly formed little girl, maybe 5 or 6, glittered in the lamplight as she wiggled free of the robe. Pearl-colored hair swirled, dancing with static electricity around her delicately shaped head. She had large eyes, the color of alabaster, her skin the hue of milk. A light frost covered her entire body, including a snow-white leotard. Who dressed this poor albino kid for summer, then let her get lost in a blizzard? child giggled and clapped her hands, then quickly nursed one which seemed slightly deformed to her chest. Her strangely pale eyes darted around the room, focusing here and there on brightly colored objects, her obvious delight growing by the second. "Who are you, honey? What's your name?" Lilith rose. She didn't like straining the generator, but this was an emergency. Turning up the space heater and squatting back down on the floor, she caught the child's distracted attention. "I'm Lilith. Who are you?" "Harry. You have weird eyes," said the girl, her voice oddly musical like wind blowing through icicle pipes. Her small hand reached out and touched Lilith's lips. Her finger burned like ice and Lilith jerked back in surprise. So did Piri, who tucked her hand behind her back again. "Mommy! I want my mommy!" she cried, stamping her foot. Picking up the discarded robe, she started vigorously rubbing the girl. "Where is your mommy?" asked Lilith, afraid of the answer. Nothing could live long out in that weather. It was a miracle Piri was still alive, although she was pale as death and twice as cold. Rub fast, not hard, she thought as the child fussed. "I don't know. I was holding Daddy's hand, and then there was a lot of yelling, and I was running. There was a bad man, but I got away, and then I got lost. Help me find them." Fresh tears started down her cheeks, turning to slush. "Daddy," she demanded, pushing away the bathrobe, chafing her. "I want my daddy." "Where do you come from? Are your parents in a car somewhere?" Lilith dropped the robe and aimed the space heater directly at the suffering child. Her brittle voice was strained. "I live up there," she said, pointing toward the ceiling. Lilith had no time to ponder about her answer. Piri whimpered as her hand fell heavily to her side, a sudden sweat dripping from slender white fingers gone oddly translucent. The pale child whimpered as the tears on her cheeks melted and scored a deep trail down steaming flesh. Lilith's eyes sharpened. The hell? Sweating? She was just freezing. Aghast, Lilith realized a puddle was forming under the squirming child. It didn't smell like urine, but like spring rain. It was clear and looked like water. What's happening here? Piri began to blink rapidly, then erupted into shrill cries of tormented pain. She fell down, tangling with the rope. The strange child rose painfully to hands and knees, slipping in the rapidly growing pool. Howling like the wind outside, she began crawling to the door, a trail of water following her. Stifling a scream, Lilith realized the child was melting.